My Tuesday morning plan was to visit the Prahran market, so I got off the tram at Turek Road in South Yarra and walked down Chapel Street through the steady rain, looking at various shop windows on the way. This pop-up barber shop caught my eye. I can't think of anywhere in Vienna I've ever seen such incredible vintage barber chairs. Actually, I did see more of these up in Fitzroy a few days later. Not far away, on Commercial Road, I found the entrance to Prahran Market. As you already know, I love markets, and I was very excited to visit, after South Melbourne Market, another of Melbourne's iconic markets, the oldest continuously operating market in Australia, according to a sign I found by the fish and poultry stands. I always start off by looking at vegetables, so I headed straight into Harvest Hall. As at South Melbourne Market, I had no problem finding fresh turmeric, right next to a good selection of fresh chilies, and not far from great-looking okra and pre-scrubbed Jerusalem artichokes, as well as exceptionally fine-looking bok choy and choy sum. Not to mention boxes piled high with mangoes, all of these from Australia, of course. At another stand on the opposite end of Harvest Hall, I found what seems to be a standard offering of fresh lime leaves, kaffir lime leaf, and curry leaves, plus 4 different edible flower assortments. I looked enviously at the artichokes and baby eggplant, as well as some things I don't think I'd ever heard of before. Kang Kong, onion flowers, hairy melons, choco. As I wandered around, I passed a gastronomy stand offering 10 different kinds of vegetarian salads, any one of which I'd be delighted to find in Vienna at my market, which I can't. Turkish delight is something I am, of course, familiar with, but the variety at Nahida's Choice was mind-bogglingly vast. Not in the mood for sweets, I chose not to indulge, and instead headed past a stand selling a very nice-looking buffalo milk cheese from Victoria, and then onto the seafood area. Coming from a landlocked country, such choice and such freshness is awesome. Note the Hervey Bay scallops and South Australian pippies, which starred so memorably in the dinner at Lee Ho Fook 2 episodes ago. At the other end of this hall, the meat stalls were equally impressive. Austria is decidedly a meat-loving country, but I'd be hard put to think of butchers in Vienna with this much variety in their display cases, particularly when it comes to lamb, and ready for the oven roasts. It was time for me to head back to South Melbourne, where I urgently required lunch, not to mention warming up on another chilly, wet day. I sat myself down at a front table in ginger and white and ordered another brunch dish. Good brunch food is hard to come by in Vienna, especially on a weekday, so I was happy to select a plate I'd noted on my previous visits. Called fricassee, it contained black beans with heirloom tomato, several slices of perfect avocado, a few enoki mushrooms, sour cream, and of course 2 poached eggs, along with various edible decorative elements. To accompany my macchiato after the egg dish, I got a homemade Portuguese custard tart, and felt altogether more content and much warmer than when it arrived. My narrative account will resume 2 days later on my trip, as the next 2 nights saw private dinners which I don't include on my video blog. But when we get to what will be Thursday, there will be both a spectacular lunch and dinner to look forward to.